Hey, what's up, guys? Over here. So at this point, I think it's fair to say, Idubbbz, it's time to stop. This guy's been on a downward trend for years now after discovering empathy, and his content has been reflective of that. And by reflective of that, I mean it's gone downhill very quickly. The troll's remorse hit this guy harder than anything else could ever hope to do, and now he's uploading some more quote-unquote regular videos after his disastrous content cop and content deputy on H3 that blew up in his face and in the faces of everyone who participated in that series. And with the normal content, because of how much people dislike him right now, they're getting absolutely bombarded with negativity. You can't find a positive comment in any of these videos. And yesterday he uploaded another video, this time titled, "Are You Scared of Immigrants?" And yes, it's just as white saviory and full of virtue signaling as you might expect with a title like that from him. And you can see it's got below a 50% like to dislike ratio, which sadly enough is probably the strongest ratio I've seen on one of his videos in quite some time. But you can also see he's fallen below 7 million subs. Basically, every time he uploads, a lot of the people in the comments are like, "Oh, I got a notification for this. I forgot I'm still subscribed from you. Unsubscribed." And this video, like I said, full of virtue signaling. Basically, this is him debuting as a breadtuber wannabe, and it didn't go well. Basically, it's 20 minutes of him going in circles over and over again, talking about the mass migration into Europe, and basically cherry picking a couple of accounts and saying, if you're noticing what's going on with mass migration into Europe, you're a racist inherently. And basically he comes up with no legitimate arguments other than just calling everyone racist and also saying they're stupid, and then making very poorly attempted jokes where, of course, the butt of the joke is either himself and slash or white people. But we're not going to go through the whole video because it is painful. But let me just play a small clip to give you a taste of the virtue signaling slop he has been reduced to.
Oh no, Europe is being overrun. Someone save Europe. Now, these videos themselves are very bad, but when you go into the comment section, you realize how many people these bad ideas are attracting. Samantha says, import third world, get third world. Well, these are not imports. These are human beings. But if you're referring to, there being a farmer's market, that's kind of a first world thing. That's just called a regular market everywhere else. So yeah, you're wrong and you're also stupid. This is what the liberals want in America. Yeah, and they're getting it. They're getting their farmers markets and they're loving their farmers markets. Thank you for making this content and hopefully waking up the European people. Oh yeah, this is something that you're going to see a lot, is people just sort of, when it benefits them, they will invoke the continent of Europe, and when it doesn't benefit them, they'll be very specific and say, "Oh, this is a real problem in the UK. This is a real problem in Rome. Europe is finished. Rome has fallen again." Oh man, yeah, farmers markets will be the end of Rome.
Yeah, did you hear any arguments there? Basically, he just looks at these comments or these sorts of observations and he says, "You're a racist and you're dumb." And of course, these things are happening. There is a great influx of immigrants coming into Europe. That's not a political statement, it's a factual one. And when looking at Rome and Italy as a whole, the number of foreigners living in Italy has increased by 50% over the past 15 years. Now, according to Idubbbz, if you have concerns about that, or even just make the observation, it's because you're racist. And you can hear the way he's trying to downplay everything and make it so, like, flippant and dismissive, where he's like, "Are you mad that there's more farmers markets? Is that what you're mad about?" No, I think it's a little more nuanced than that, but he's trying to dumb it down, trying to make these people look ridiculous, to make anyone who observes what's going on as ridiculous. And the comment section is totally eviscerating him. The first one saying, "Pay your coaches the money you owe them." That is, of course, a reference to the preparation for Creator Clash, where we had Coach Mike here training Anissa, for example, Idubbbz' wife, in this clip. And unfortunately, after working with her as well as Idubbbz, he was not paid. He was owed about $5,000. He was fired by Idubbbz for reminding him too much of his dad because he raised his voice at him. And honestly, based on the video we just saw here, the one he uploaded yesterday, where he's constantly going off about these racist old boomer white men, I'm sensing a bit of a theme here, right? I think that video's talking to someone. But anyways, they were owed $5,000 for training Ian and Anissa, and the only person who stepped up to pay him was, of course, Ethan Klein, who gave him the $5,000 he was owed. We haven't heard anything about this from Idubbbz or Anissa ever since. But returning to the comments, this person said, "Congrats on the 6 million subs. Been here since 7 million. This comment section about to go crazy. I challenge you to find a positive comment on this video. It's like finding a needle in the haystack. It is crazy. I scrolled through probably 200 or 300 comments. I saw one that was slightly neutral. Like, we didn't even get a positive one. I got a slightly neutral one with like 4 likes. Okay, but let's continue on. Very empathetic. You should let 19 Pakistani immigrants live in your wife's mother's basement with you. This video reminded me that I forgot to unsubscribe. This person says, as a Portuguese citizen, I can confirm that Europe is becoming more dangerous. We are experiencing mass immigration that we are not fully controlling, which means we receive both those who want to work and those who might pose a threat. Some individuals come only to benefit from government support without contributing. Just last week, there was a tragic incident in Lisbon where a man was beheaded. Portugal no longer feels as safe as it once did. Now, hold on a second. You're telling me you're sharing an opinion about this as a Portuguese citizen? What's going on around you? Are you sure you don't want to listen to Idubbbz, the American, who then flew a little Barcelona flag behind him and now thinks he's an expert on what's going on in Europe? Yeah, I have a feeling Idubbbz is not going to pay attention to a Portuguese citizen on this issue if they disagree with him. That's the unfortunate reality of people like Ian, who think they know better than everyone else, including people directly impacted by things going on around them in their country and in their continent. But here's another one in quote saying, are you seriously noticing the declining state of every first world country and how it coincides with the millions of people who came here in the last 5 to 10 years, end quote. This one says, it's like you're actively trying to be worse. Here's another one saying, how many immigrants are you supporting, Mr. Idubbbz? Well, oddly enough, we're going to see who he directly supports at the end of his video. This person says, white guilt no longer works. Ian, LMAO, the defense funds in the bio, pathetic. Now, this is actually the part I really want to talk about. Might have avoided this today because it's just a bad video, right? Just a bunch of slop and virtue signaling. But at the end of the video, he spends about a minute talking about the Ethan Klein copyright infringement lawsuits, and he directly calls for supports of the 3 recipients of those lawsuits, Frogan, Denims, and Caseytron.
Before I go, I want to bring your guys' attention to some lawsuits that recently dropped. Frogan, Denims, and Caseytron have all been sued, and they are trying to fight this off. I really believe in their cases, and I think it's important to either set a precedent or send a message that just because you're fucking rich and powerful doesn't mean that you can bully people on the internet, doesn't mean you can bully women, minorities, or fucking people who are poorer than you. And I think it would be good if they can continue to fight this off. So I'm going to put the links to their GoFundMes down below. All right, everyone, that is going to do it for this episode of Idubbbz Complains. I will see you next time when I swing the candelabra.
Now, the irony of Idubbbz supporting these campaigns is palpable, okay? It couldn't be any more ironic because just over 2 years ago, when talking about the failure of Creator Clash 2, one of the main reasons he gives for the financial failure of that event is pirating, copyright infringement, people streaming the events for free as a market replacement on Twitch. There were people streaming his event. He got more viewers through copyright infringement than the actual sales.
Amongst the 800 pirated streaming sites, there were between 1.3 and 3 million viewers. So even though there were around 50,000 pay-per-view buys, there were around 1.3 to 3 million viewers. people who actually watch the full broadcast. And that's a little bit reassuring. You know, it makes me feel like, okay, people maybe do want to watch this. They just didn't, you know, they just either couldn't afford it or just didn't want to support what I had going on.
This is a copyright infringement issue, and he names that as the main reason Creator Clash 2 financially failed. But then he's turning around and supporting these three individuals who are being sued for copyright infringement because they openly try to be a market replacement for someone else's copyrighted content. It's absolutely wild that he doesn't see the irony of this. And I saw a lot of other people comparing like Ethan Klein and Idubbbz, and they're both losing subscribers over the past year or so. And people use that as proof that Ethan Klein is now some failure and irrelevant. But the guy still pulls really good numbers, and he does it while also getting a lot of positive support. You can see, even on his video announcing the lawsuits, which is a very controversial video that's directly challenging multiple large communities that already don't like him and want to brigade the dislike button on his videos. You can see the like to dislike ratio. It's very strong for such a controversial video. And that's the case on his podcasts and his other videos. But when it comes to Idubbbz, everything he does just blows up in the worst way. He can barely even get close to a 50-50 ratio on any of his videos, even things that are detached from drama, because people are just fatigued with the man. They don't take him seriously anymore, after especially the content cop on age 3. Now let's turn to the three individuals, beginning with Idubbbz, who's probably the most ironic example of someone he would support. And I'll show you why in just a second. So she has her GoFundMe, and it still hasn't cracked 40K. All right. And after seeing, Idubbbz step up to the plate and call for the support of her lawsuit, or GoFundMe for the lawsuit, you would expect something big. Well, if you scroll down and you look at the actual donations, here's the latest. So you can see in real time, Idubbbz drops in with a 420 donation. Haha, how funny. And then after that, we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. 5 people in the last 24 hours felt compelled enough to come in and support this GoFundMe. I know every time we talk about these GoFundMes, I make jokes about funding me by super thanking in the chat, but I'm just saying that now because we get more mobilization for my bit where I'm making fun of the GoFundMes than the GoFundMes actually get, even after people like Idubbbz try to support it and encourage others to do so as well, even taking time out of a main channel video to promote the GoFundMes. Now, the irony that I pointed out with Idubbbz and Idubbbz supporting her is that she's just cooked directly. And based on her own logic that she shared foolishly about a month ago, stealing from Idubbbz would be okay because he is a wealthy man. And that's how she tries to justify what she did to Ethan Klein. She compares him to a corporation and basically says, well, stealing and theft from those targets is okay. It's morally okay, but it's not morally okay to steal from someone who said, let's say is poor.
Here, we'll make this on a grander scale. If you check your bank account and like Chase accidentally refunded you an extra $50, you might look at that and be like they were supposed to refund you for some charge or something, and then they accidentally gave you another $50. And you see that and you're like, I didn't see anything. Well, listen, they can correct it. They can find it themselves. They can correct it. I don't really care that much. All right. I don't really care that much. If some old lady on the street is like, hey, do you have change for a $10 bill? Nobody carries cash around. But like, do you have change for a $10 bill? I just need to pay the meter. And she hands you a $50 bill instead of a $10 bill and says, oh, times are so tough right now. But, got to pay the meter. And you keep the 50. See how one of those feels morally worse? One of those feels like you're stealing from someone who does need it, or you're stealing from, I don't know, not a corporation. One of those feels worse. We're not talking about legality. It's theft regardless. We're talking about what is morally worse. It's theft regardless.
It's theft regardless.
Alright, now we move on to the next one, the two-time Twitch rising star, the Froganator. Well, her GoFundMe, it's basically the same situation. She's at 35,000. She hasn't moved the needle hardly at all, and the only reason it even moved at all is because, well, you got the 420 donation from Idubbbz. He's hitting him with the weed joke once again. And then you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 donations in the past 24 hours, totaling for just over $100. Not too great, but you know, this is also ironic that he's supporting Frogan, because Frogan is someone who is exactly the kind of spreader of hateful rhetoric that he was attacking in his latest video. He's all about, you know, people shedding their hateful rhetoric and being called out for it. Well, of course, you know, when it comes to seeing things like seeing race, oh, Frogan sees it. In fact, she likes to power rank these. She ranks them on a tier list, as she did in this sponsored Twitch panel from about a year or two ago, where she put Arab content creators in the S tier, meaning good, and she put Jews down in the F tier, meaning bad. Boo, says Frogan and others who participate in this. But of course, if you're a European and you notice what's going on in your own country in terms of immigration, and you make these observations of what's happening right before you, you're an irredeemable racist. Now, of course, we know the hatred coming from Frogan. Frogan has no end, and she's famous for, oh, I don't know, spreading hateful rhetoric about soldiers.
I hope you get PTSD. And I hope you get no health insurance when you get back into fucking America. And they posted it in my head. I'm like, base? Base? Like, am I supposed to be like, I'm not walking back on it. I still fucking agree with it. Base?
And that's not just any clip, right? That's her doubling down. And she would even go further and triple down on those comments. And only almost a year later, she would finally try to run it back a little bit while also trying to play the victim. It's just a very shameless clip that is going to basically live in infamy. Like, that's what people are going to think of when they think of Frogan. They're going to think of the girl who said soldiers deserve PTSD. But let's move on to the final person, Casey Tron, who's, I guess, just vibing these days. There's not much to say. We talked about her recently and her antics, like, you know, streaming copyrighted content without even being on the screen herself or reacting in any sort of a way in her attempts to raise funds for her copyright infringement lawsuit she's facing. And the fundraiser, she's cracked 44K. She did it. After about a month of being stuck in the 43 range there, she finally did it. And you know why. It's because she got one of those juicy $420 donations from Idubbbz. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 donations in the next 24 hours. And I've noticed just now, I'm seeing a lot of the same names too. So it's really just a couple of individuals donating to all three. So it feels even less impactful when you look at it in that sort of a light. But yeah, that's the update on Idubbbz. Basically, any video he makes nowadays is a pretty fair game for content. And like I said, I wasn't really going to talk about it today. You know, it's just a dumb video. He makes a lot of, well, he really doesn't make any point other than calling people racist. But it was the end where he talks about the lawsuits and his support of it, and the hypocrisy is through the window. But then again, what do we expect at this point from Idubbbz? But anyways, that's going to do it for this video. As always, feel free to share your thoughts about today's topics in the comment section down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.